Welcome to Let's Chat. I'm Pastor Shelley Stephenson, and I am so pleased and honored that Tracy Detweiler, whom is very much loved in my circle of people, and I'm serious about that. You make a difference with them. I couldn't wait to meet you, and I appreciate how you present what you know here from your heart through Holy Spirit. So we are going to talk today about mental health. Remember, mental health, mental illness. We use that in different ways, and specifically regarding medication. I know that a lot of people think differently about should we or shouldn't we, what types, what to avoid, and I think knowing Tracy and understanding. We don't want to be like ostriches with our head in the sand.
Correct.
And when I say we right now, I'm talking about the church. I'm talking about, everybody, but in particular, I see it in the church, and it kind of breaks my heart that we still don't embrace the fact that mental illness is like any other illness. But there is healing and there is wholeness. And that's what we want to share with other people. So Tracy has so graciously accepted my invitation to come and talk. And I'm going to just start out by first asking you, because I don't want confusion, about, what is your occupational, specialty? What is it that you do? What is your title? Share that with us.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Pastor Shelley, for inviting me to speak. One of my passions is helping my community to grow and to thrive. And so I'm hoping through this podcast, we will reach those who have something to learn about what both of us share. I do want to let all of our viewers know that the content provided here is for informational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. It is essential that you consult with your personal healthcare provider before making any decisions or changing any of your medications. And use all the information that I give you here as an educational piece.
That makes sense. I appreciate you saying that. It makes a lot of sense.
And so back to your initial question, I am a certified physician assistant. I graduated with a bachelor's degree from Kettering College of Medical Arts in Dayton. I then received a master's degree from the University of Nebraska. I have been practicing for almost 17 years.
Wow.
Yes, almost 17 years. I have been working in mental health and psychiatry in Logan and Champaign County for going on 11 years. I do have experience prior to that. I was 7 years in family practice. And then I also, my first job out of college was I worked at the Ohio Reformatory for Women.
Interesting.
So I did, I felt like that was a good place to kind of start I had an interest in mental health and primary care and serving the whole person.
Yes.
I felt like a reformatory, you're seeing people that, they really need help in every aspect of their being
right.
at that point.
Amen. That's beautiful because we serve a couple of people who are actually at ORW, and that is most important, that the mental part is not skipped over. I think maybe if we trace it back, we would begin to understand that maybe that's why they're in there to begin with, because of a mental illness. So that's incredible. You don't even look old enough to be in this field for 17 years.
Oh, well, thank you.
Let me ask you a question. This is a hard field to be in.
Yes.
Because number one, there aren't enough people like you or like therapists and social workers, and you are inundated right now, and probably, I believe, from the people I've talked to, more so than ever, there's a lot of pressure on you. And so, and also there's victories, but there's also a lot of people that aren't able maybe to step into what you would hope them to step into. I understand that as a pastor. So how do you, Tracy, stay focused and rejuvenated and energized to do what you do and to do it so well and effectively?
Well, first I surround myself with a group of people who have the same mindset as I do. I think putting yourself in the workplace and working with people who share your same values, that share your similar way of practice. We all have some different things that we do, of course, but the culture in which you work is so, so important. And I think that greatly helps me. Taking time for myself, that's important. Time with the Lord is very important. Each morning, I set aside that time to pray for my patients, to pray for my day, to set myself up in that way. Getting enough rest, and just seeing how Bell Fountain, Logan County in itself has grown so much, I think in a healthy way in the past 17 years, keeps me kind of rejuvenated. Downtown's being rebuilt.
Right. Yes.
We've got more resources for different types of beliefs and what people are interested in, and that keeps me excited.
Amen. I'm glad you say that, because I feel kind of that excitement, and I feel like we're making a difference, and it doesn't matter to me how big that difference is, as long as there is a difference to the good, right? For the healing of people, that's my heart, to the glory of God. And so it's just important to me that people like you don't burn out, because we truly, you do make a difference. And I love your heart. So, you have the experience, you have not just, you have the knowledge, wisdom, right? To do what you do. And I want to ask you this, medication we talked about a little bit. When we begin to talk about mental illness and medication, there are a lot of people that say, come on now. Do we need medication, or do people just need to buck up and fly right? Do people need to get it right with the Lord? Is there sin in someone's life? What about these medications? So let me ask you, how do you know if someone needs medication? Is it based on a diagnosis? Or, do you feel that you see what is going on in their life that warrants medication?
Well, first thing, I'll touch on something you said, which is burnout. And you hear that word, I think I hear it more in healthcare for some reason. You hear this term burnout. And I think what many people do not know is that burnout typically does not come from us taking care of patients. The burnout is on a different side.
Come on now.
The burnout is on a different side. That be the insurance company,
Right.
The electronics, right? Working with electronics, different changes in the system, not getting records in a timely manner, just that function and flow of how things should go to set us up for how an appointment should go.
Right. It's not the patient.
It's not the
Wow,
patient that burns us out. It's more, and I'm not putting the blame on anything that's administrative at all or anything like that. It's just how the back end of the system. It can be very difficult just to obtain discharge information from a hospital. Right. So there's a lot of things that.
So they've added a lot of paperwork that you all have to do. It seems like, my goodness, I mean, it's a lot. And so that's a great point, that would bring more of the burnout or being weary on that side. Right. But that the patient, that's not where we have to worry about that. That's great.
And sometimes our hands are tied by insurance companies. Sometimes our hands are tied by, there's simply not enough of a certain particular therapist or program that's local, that's taking patients when the person needs it.
Yes.
Because that's important, to meet somebody where they are when they need it, when they're asking for it. So I just want to clarify that's where the burnout comes from.
Well, I like
so that. People don't know they're the burden to
very
us.
Good.
Never.
That's very good. See, I have a pastor's heart, so I understand what you're saying. That helps me even to look at it a little bit differently. It's not the people. I love the people. I want to help them. Like you said, it's the other parts, the financial parts, keeping all that going. And so that's beautiful. Right. So thank you for sharing that part.
And that's part of it too, is, you mentioned finances. It is a business.
That's right.
And we have to keep our lights on, and we have to, have facilities, so we have to sometimes be mindful of that as well. As
Exactly.
though, I don't think that impedes my my patient care, but that is something that's part of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of people don't realize that the medical field, it is a business.
Right.
And, that there are certain things that have to be met, right? Certain requirements that have to be met. So I pray for healthcare a lot because I know there's a lot of pressure, but like you said, on the backside, your patients are not that to you.
Never.
So I see that in you. So what happens the first time somebody comes in to see you? I guess that would be their family doctor would recommend. How does someone get in front of you to begin with? What has had to have happened in their life?
Well, somebody typically sees a primary care provider
Okay.
initially. That's how it works.
Okay.
Not all the time, but I think that's typical of our country. If somebody's struggling with an emotion, check in with my PCP
Right.
first and see if there's something that can be done. Next step is typically a therapy appointment for an initial assessment. The therapist can take time to gather. Is this something the medication would help with, or they're experts in their field as well?
Mhm.
I think this is something that therapy, we can work through this together by teaching coping skills, by
Yes.
setting some boundaries in
Come
place.
on, you're speaking my language now.
We need to set boundaries with maybe it's a particular relationship the person's, that's bringing on the sadness and the blueness or the irritability. Let's work through that. And also back to the family doctor, they can rule out, do you have a vitamin deficiency? And some of these things I do as part of my intake as well, right? We don't want to just throw things to the wind and assume it's up here,
Amen.
right?
That's right.
It could be a hormone imbalance,
Right.
Back to the children, is there lead involved?
Mhm.
Like I said, vitamins are very important. So there's blood sugar, someone could have
Absolutely.
developed thyroid, excellent thing. So, PCP can kind of rule out some of those things. And then therapist does an intake. If the person's up front right away, I really need to see a psychiatry
Okay.
provider. A referral is made. And then patients will then enter into mine.
So a
my door.
patient can say, I really feel at this point that I need a professional in the realm of psychiatry. And a lot of times that therapist will, because of how good they are, say, we're going to do that, right away.
Yes.
So, or the provider can say, you know what, I think maybe you need, this, and this. So, I want people to know kind of like, if you're feeling this, primary care,
Yeah.
get a hold of your doctor, your CMP, and talk to them, be honest,
Mhm.
right? Be 100% honest.
Right.
And then he or she will guide you from there to therapy, which may end up being, really a step to maybe get to someone in the realm of psychiatry.
Right.
And is it then where mental illness medications are prescribed once it gets into your realm, or how does that happen with the medications?
It can happen in numerous ways. There are, just as I have different niches, there are primary caregivers that have different niches. I spent 7 years in family medicine, and I found that psychiatry, behavioral health were some of the appointments I look more forward to.
Okay.
So I took a lot of continuing ed hours in that. So you might have a PCP who's done that.
Mm-hmm.
You may have one that, specializes really in the diabetes or,
Trauma.
certain things.
Sure.
It just depends. And so, the PCP may be willing to start. Some may say, this is outside of my scope, I need to refer.
Sure.
And I always encourage patients to listen to their gut. If they're with a provider and they don't feel like they're being heard, they don't feel like they're being listened to, well, call the therapist next. Reach out to a psychiatry department. See what your options are if who you think
That's
should
great.
be making them is not.
Right.
We all need to be advocates for our health, whether if it's in an outpatient setting, if it's in the hospital, we have to advocate for ourselves.
That's good. I like what you said. It's like you want what's best for everybody who God brings to put in front of you. And you're like, if it's not me, then I will guide you to where you need to be. That's a beautiful thing. That speaks of the heart. And so, like you said, I don't want people to fear that they're going to be locked into this or that. We're as a community, right? We want people whole.
Exactly.
We want people healed and whole. Then they can better have a relationship with Christ and share that with others. So we're on the same page with that. You are so, you love to learn. I can just tell that you are that person that, the intellect, it kind of drives you, like you with medications and things like that. There's a lot to it. That's intense.
There is.
So, you saying that you were kind of led into this area of understanding how medications work and they interact with each other and all those things, that is something that we absolutely need to understand, at least just the tip of the iceberg with what you do, that this is not a game. It's not just, I'm going to throw it out. It's
Right.
very well researched and thought through, and it's personalized.
It very much is. I don't know, after that medical panel's been performed, right? We've ruled out that there's diabetes and those types of things. So a patient comes in to see me, and I'll give an example of depression, right? We typically don't just, like you said, we don't throw an antidepressant at them and say, we'll hope it works. Come back in 4 weeks, right? So we kind of deep dive in what are those other symptoms that you're having? Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you having trouble eating? Are you having trouble with energy? Because there are antidepressants that are made to treat those specific symptoms as well as they are antidepressants.
Yes.
Some are more sedating, that can help the insomniac. Some stimulate appetite, that can help, somebody that's really struggling with eating. There are some that we refer to as they're more activating, which kind of has the name, does what it says, it activates you. So that can get people off the couch, that can bring on the motivation.
Wow.
So, we typically try to go in that direction with not only what the patient is saying, and what probably is the most important part, I always start my appointments with how are you feeling? And then what are you here for? Like, what are your goals? What do you want for yourself?
Right.
And then that gets my wheels turning as they open up about where I want to go with the medication as far as what they say.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because how am I feeling? I can put that out there, but when you say, what are you here for? And that would, I just want to be able to sleep, or, I just want to be able to think clearly. That's a great leadway into, now your wheels are going, like, this will work, this probably won't, we could try this, we could try that. But I like what you said. It's not just if I come into you and I say, I'm just sad, I'm just blue, I just can't, get happy and this and that. And so you're like, is there anything else going along with that? And it's like, no, I'm just, I don't know, I'm just having a moment. I'm just, going through a phase. And therefore you, in your expertise and your education, might say, maybe it is just a phase.
Right.
And so you kind of would let people know that, what, I think you're situational. Explain the difference between, situational depression as a clinician and someone who is clinically depressed.
Well, I'll backtrack just a little bit in how the process works for somebody to, get an appointment with me. They have the intake with the therapist. That's roughly 60 to 90 minutes. Okay. 90 minutes with me. So I get a lot of information from the therapy side of kind of the general things, like, who do you live with? Do you have a partner? Do you and your partner have children? Just kind of some of that back history, because that's very important. And it would be impossible for me to gather all of that information, plus get into the medication at the appointment, and sometimes even at that first appointment, even with all that. I'm transparent with the patient that we need to do another session before we talk about medication. Because also typically what's happened. Primary care may have prescribed something, and if they're coming to see me, we're going to assume it didn't meet their goals, right? So I spend a lot of time going through the prior trials. Was it a dose issue? Were they taking it correctly? Were they taking it every day? I think we're all guilty of not taking our medicines every single day. Why didn't it work? Because sometimes we revisit a medication that the primary care doctor had them on. It wasn't at therapeutic level. They didn't give it long enough time for that transient, which means it's a side effect that will come and then it will go. Typically within a week or two, the longer you're on the medicine. So you got to start there.
It's a lot.
It's
a lot to put together.
It's a lot to process, and you also what we have to take into account your entire medical history. I am not going to put somebody on a medication, certain medications, if their sugars are completely uncontrolled. There's medications that will, you won't meet your goals with your diabetic journey if I place you on this. It's going to be a barrier. Some people don't like to have blood work drawn. Okay, we need to take off the table some of these medications that require frequent blood work monitoring. Some people don't like multiple dose daily medication. They want to just take something once a day. They would be better off served that way. So we have to take all of these, which is why I can honestly say with my entire patient panel, I don't have anyone on the same regimen, even though they have the same diagnoses.
That is a great point, because not everyone is treated the same, because we are individuals. God created us so uniquely from our DNA, and I think that's kind of what I see in a lot of people is labeling, and that really breaks my heart, because it's like everybody's in the same box, if they go to see a therapist or a psychiatrist, and it's like, it's not like that. Every single person deserves to be looked at as an individual. And you take that time. You can't rush this.
Absolutely not.
People are too important to rush it, but it's too important to label and put everybody, their experiences are different. Their family life, their socioeconomic, their physical, all those things. You have to process all of that together with your team. I think that is kind of mind blowing when you start saying, okay, some of these will affect their diabetes and you go back and forth, and this is a big deal. You probably have files this thick on, because you want to get it right. That's the most important thing. So, like I said, I love your heart. I feel like we're just getting started with the things that we want to share with people, and all this information. We want it for the common good. So, we've got maybe 3 minutes here. You can go over, because I love talking to you, and it just rolls. But we'll stop. We'll stop this segment, and we will have a part 2, and we'll go from there. But with a couple of minutes left, of what we talked about so far, what would you like to say that maybe we didn't get to, and how would you like to end the information that you're going to be sharing with us?
Well, one thing I would like, since we're doing a part 1 and we're going to move on, I really would like anyone who hears this, who views this, to know that it is an honor for me to have somebody walk in my door. This is a person who may have been judged their entire life by those who are closest to them, including the church. I think the church
need work.
Needs work. Their mother, their father, their school, their friends, people have judged them for so long, and they're willing to come in and give me the honor of opening up to a stranger and letting me in the most sacred places of their heart.
Wow,
that's an honor.
That's beautiful. And God created you to do that. And you know that that's part of who you are.
It gives me joy.
Amen.
And happiness is different than joy, right? Happiness is an emotion related to a situation.
That's right.
Right? Joy is something that you have despite the situation.
Exactly. It stays in your belly because it's the joy of the Lord. And it's the joy of the Lord, right, that gives us strength.
Amen.
To do the things that we do.
Amen. And with what I've shared today, I think the most important thing is, what do we do if there's an emergency? So I would like to share the crisis and text lines for anyone who may ever feel suicidal, out of control, not sure what to do with their emotions. You can always call the emergency room, 911. They're always available to help. We have a crisis text line that is, if you text home, the word home, to 741-741, you can text a person or you can call toll free at 844-519-0855.
That's great. I love that you can actually text.
Yeah.
Because there are some people that struggle with talking on the phone. So from the very beginning, everybody coming together, that makes sense, because I would be more likely, if I am in a crisis situation because of my personality, to hit the text and go from there.
Right.
So I appreciate you so much, and we're going to continue to talk because some of the things you are saying are expanding my capacity to understand. So thank you so much for joining us, and stay with us. This podcast will go out on Monday, and we're just going to keep rolling. And I hope that if you need any help, you will reach out, and you can reach out for prayer. Those of you that know me anytime for any reason. God bless you.